And Parag Sinha, I beg your pardon, Parag Singla, who's a professor and the head of the Department of Computer Science Engineering at IIT Delhi, artificial intelligence expert, is with us. Professor Singla, thank you for joining us now. Is it easy to spot a deep fake with technology?
Yeah, so I think the technology is becoming more and more sophisticated. So this is a sub area called computer vision, right, which is sort of at the core, and it is part of the generative AI. So I think a few years back, it was probably easy for a human to actually spot, and it has become much more difficult now. In fact, I was reading a paper where they say that um, the the number of cases where a human can detect versus technology can detect, they are sort of comparable. So it has
Okay.
become fairly difficult now, and it's sort of at the point where we have to really think about how to use technology itself to detect such cases.
Indeed, and Google uses watermarking and metadata. How effective is that?
Right. So I think that has been very effective till now. But again, I was reading some stuff, and there are techniques which probably can counter that. So I think what is happening in this area is that as technology, so the analogy I will give is spam and right, detecting the spam. Right, several years back, people were worried about spam, and the technology to detect spam also went forward. And right now, I think we are sort of at equilibrium, and
Yes.
that is the same thing that I see happening here. I was just reading, there is a paper from Hebrew University on Archive, and they claim that there are certain features which probably may be difficult to for a human eye to detect, but the technology itself can compare the
Okay.
real sort of expression versus the artificial expression, and can do that. But I think the traditional technologies like watermarks and other things may be something we have to move beyond that, and think about new technologies to discover deep
Right.
fakes.
Professor Singla, I mean, one can always question the veracity, timing, etc., of a potential deepfake video and who it
Mhm.
benefits and all that to try and figure out whether it's fake or not. But, what about the impact on more gullible people? That's the real concern, especially, during an election time.
Yeah, no, that's a real concern. I agree. In fact, that has been raised by our IT minister. Even Prime Minister himself has raised that. And I think what needs to be done is sort of demystify the technology, really educate people and orient people that anything that we get on the web may not always be true. And at some level, being careful about it. In fact, some of the recent happenings, I was looking at the videos, some of them are still at the place where if you're careful enough, you could potentially detect it. But as I said, I think what we really need is help of technology, where we develop such apps and technology so that
Right.
people, whenever in doubt, can use that app and technology to detect it. But I think the first step would be to educate people that anything that they get on WhatsApp or social media may not actually be real, and it can potentially be fake. So I think that is really
Sure.
important concern. Yeah.
But Professor Singla, there are good uses as well, right, for
Yeah.
for this kind of technology. I mean, it can be used to revive and visualize real history. For instance, people who find it difficult to read. I mean, history books are that thick. They can probably, visualize things much better through biographies and things like that. What do you think? I mean, can it be used ethically?
Absolutely, right. So I think it is true for any technology, right? So in fact, again, I was reading around, right? People have created, for example, they've looked at Ramayana or Mahabharata, some of these Indian scriptures, and they've created wonderful sort of generative AI depictions, or how they would have looked like a few hundred years back. So I think it is really useful. So just like any other technology, it's up to us to decide what is the right usage. And I think there are both sides, right? I mean, it can really sort of uncover historical things and create an imagination for you, which can be very useful for education and for other purposes. But when not, when put to some malicious use, it can be really harmful. So I think
Absolutely.
actively we have to decide, right, which is the right use, and also make sure, right, whenever there is a malicious intent, there is also an alternate or counter technology which can detect that, so that
Okay.
we can really safeguard our people.
So India has called for a global framework on expansion of ethical AI tools.
Mhm.
Now, how best can one identify these ethical use of deep fakes and sort of institutionalize it?
Yeah, so that's, I think, a difficult question. I would say that there is a sort of explosion that has happened in the whole area of deep learning. In fact, it's interesting that about a few months back, there was a call globally from experts in field of AI, which said that no, there is just massive progress in AI and maybe we should just stop back and think. That did not really go through because people were of the divided opinion, right, whether to stop technological progress or really develop new technologies so that the counters or we sort of safeguard against the bad use of the technology. I think it will take some time to evolve such institutional mechanism, but any such start is a good start. Right, so I think
Right.
across different countries, I believe a common program has to be evolved so that we understand the ethical concerns and so that it can be institutionalized. I think that's a good first step, I would say.
So indeed, so you think the best way to regulate this kind of content is to find some sort of a coalition that works towards it. But I mean, there's also the question that would arise as to how effective. I mean, there are some countries that are already at an advanced stage. There are some that are, there is the, there's a gap, there's a digital gap in a sense. How does one, is it possible to, create an institutional framework that's, that sort of equalizes things?
Sure. So I think there are two parts, right? So in terms of technological access, I do believe in democratization of technology that
Yes.
every should have access. But I think simple things, for example, again, I was reading that just like for certain kind of products, there is a warning, right, that is issued. So I think if we can have such standards, right, for various platforms, that any content which is sort of artificially generated, that it must have that kind of warning and as our IT ministry had issued a statement that all the platforms have to be really proactive in terms of identifying such deepfake images and take them off if needed. So such kind of policies, if commonly agreed, I think can really go a long way in terms of institutionalizing these mechanisms. But in terms of access of technology, I do believe that everyone should have
Yes.
equal access. That's very important for
Right.
every country.
Thanks very much, Professor Singla. Thank you for putting that into context for us and giving us some background.